Hello and welcome to another episode of the GodisaGeek Retrocast. My name is Lee Garbett, and joining me as always is Robin Parker.
Hello there.
And today we're going to be looking at a Game Boy game, and this one is going to be Super Mario Land 2: Six Golden Coins. Released in 1993 in Europe. It's quite a different game from the original Super Mario Land. It looks a lot better, as you can see. What are your experiences with this, Robin?
Yeah, straight away you can see we're thrown right into this sort of tutorial level, and it looks about a million times better than Mario Land 1. Mario Land 1 was sort of barely resembled a Mario game, whereas here you've got the big bold sprites. You're zoomed in a bit more than in the first game, which had quite a panoramic view almost, and it's just everything's looking a lot more Mario.
I love that Mario sprite. I'm sure it's ripped straight from Super Mario World that had obviously come out on Super Nintendo a couple of years prior. But yeah, everything looks bright and colourful. That's how Game Boy games look best, is when they're nice chunky sprites, nothing too small. That's how it should be done.
Yeah, I think people sort of got carried away with sort of zooming out and trying to give you big worlds to look at, but yeah, as you say, these Game Boy games work best when you've got these nice big sprites and you can clearly see what's going on. It's all well and good to have these really big levels, but if you can't tell what on earth you're doing, there's no point.
Yeah, as you can see, I've picked up a Fire Flower. The previous Mario game, Mario Land, didn't actually have a Fire Flower at all. He was using balls to attack. So back to Fire Flowers.
Yeah, so this one, I think, like you said, it takes a lot of cues from Mario World, this game. It's kind of, when you look at it, it's quite similar to Mario Brothers 3 on the NES or Mario World on the SNES. It's got the hub screen here where you can navigate around. You don't have to actually tackle the levels in any particular order, because as the title suggests, you're trying to find the 6 golden coins, which are scattered around in the different worlds.
And as you can say, much like Super Mario World, I think there's even more a kind of freedom than there was in Super Mario World, because you can tackle any of the worlds you want, apart from the final one, at any time. So you can see I'm just walking around and checking out some of these worlds.
Yeah, I think for the time it probably was the most open Mario game, which pretty revolutionary for the Game Boy, considering the first game was what seemed like a bit of a rushed version of Mario. This one's really full-fledged, loads of options. Really, it opens up a lot of doors that the other games didn't.
And let's not forget, it does have battery backup to save your game, which is always important when you're playing a game this large on a Game Boy.
Oh yeah, to go back to the first game again, it was so frustrating having to play the full game through to the end. It was, some of the levels at the end were so taxing. It's such a relief to be able to save on this one.
Yeah, it's generally a much easier game than the previous one, but in this case I don't think that's too bad a thing. We've just entered the tree zone, which, as you can imagine, is full of wood and leaves and all sorts of nature stuff, like frogs.
And as you can see, all of these enemies are sort of, they've got a lot of character because of having such a big sprites. They're sort of more likable, even though they're bad guys. You can see their expressions and things like that. It just makes it a much nicer game to play when it's designed so well. It's obviously a lot of care put into the design of this game.
Definitely, and they're not the stock Mario enemies either. There's lots of enemies that you'll never see anywhere else, just in this game alone.
Oh yeah, this was a lot of imagination went into this. There's actually for each of the gold coins you have to retrieve, because Wario's kicked you out of your castle and you need to get your gold coins to get back into your castle. There's actually a different boss, so it's like the first Mario game which had bosses other than Bowser, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's definitely up there. And of course, as you say, it is the debut of Wario, who was an enemy and was deemed to be Mario's doppelganger and every bit as powerful as Mario. And of course, he would end up inheriting the Mario Land series on the Game Boy. The game after this would be Super Mario Land 3: Wario Land.
Yeah, which was another great title. It was very similar to this in the sense of being quite open. But obviously, Wario must have struck a chord with the fans and was quite popular. Became quite popular after this title.
So I don't know if you notice, at the top of the goal areas, there's this little bell. As you saw on the first level I played, if you touch that, basically it gives you a little bonus mini game you can use to get some more items.
It's like the mini games at the end of the levels in Mario Brothers 3 when selecting the free, when you have to try and match up all the different logos to get a power up.
Yeah.
Similar idea. Yeah, you got here we're back to more traditional bad guys, the Goombas and the flying Goombas.
There are a couple of these side-scrolling areas around, but not too many of them.
Oh, and you'll see here, if you kill 5 enemies in a row when you're invincible, you actually get an extra life, and then for every other enemy you kill after that, you get another extra life. So it's as you said, it is a somewhat easier game because it gives you little things like that where you can really rack up some extra lives.
It is very easy to rack up lives in this game. What's even amusing is that from the when you're selecting the save file, you can actually press a few buttons and it'll enable easy mode.
Oh yeah. I remember reading there was an easy mode. I think when I played it the first time around, I never realised, but yeah, I've read that since.
I'm not sure entirely how it makes it easier, but this is a fairly easy game. So here's the hippo area.
You're inside the bubble which just came out of the hippo's nostril.
Yeah, so this isn't a world in itself. It's just it's almost like a gateway level that will take you to somewhere else. Of course, I could just float to the very top of the area and just zoom all the way to the end, but that would make for a very boring video. So we've got a bit of ground action here as well for you.
Yeah, because there's about 3 different power-up suits for Mario in this one, isn't there? There's the fire cap, the rabbit hat.
The rabbit ears that enable you to float, and if you're very good, you can actually float all the way to the end of every level.
And is there another? I can't quite remember.
I think it's just the mushroom. Mushroom, fire flower, and the rabbit, and of course hearts that give you 1-ups.
Yeah, and there you've got 2 different goals. Because on this game, like in Super Mario World, there are some secrets. So if you go through different goals or find secret finish lines, you can actually unlock bonus levels or bonus areas, which became a huge part of Mario World. I mean, there's so many secrets in that game, but there's still quite a few in this one to be found in this one too.
Definitely. So we are in another world now, the Pumpkin Zone.
And like you said, it's quite imaginative for a Mario game because we become used to playing things like maybe New Super Mario Brothers, where you get a lot of irregular bad guys, which you've seen in every Mario game. Whereas this one, okay, some of the bad guys are a bit strange, like these walking hockey masks with knives in their head, but it's at least something different that you don't normally see in a Mario game.
I mean, I think that's something you can say about a lot of Nintendo's franchises when they went to the Game Boys, that a lot of them were they're almost like experiments. Like they did do a lot of things that change around what we had saw on the NES and the SNES. They were very experimental during this time, and I think that made them some very, very good game experiences.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the fact that they had different game teams working on them just allowed those other developers to sort of cut their teeth and try some new things, which just, like you say, just made sort of mix things up a bit more and gave us a nice variety of games, so that it wasn't just, oh, here's a lazy port of one of the other titles straight onto the Game Boy, but it's not as good as the full version. This is a game, developed from the ground up for Game Boy, something new.
Exactly. You just saw me collect the rabbit ears and then promptly lose them. But the rabbit ears are very handy. I mean, once you've got the rabbit ears, you can pretty much just avoid every single obstacle.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of that was always a temptation with sort of a raccoon suit in Mario 3 and with the cape in Mario World, but I suppose it depends what you're trying to do, isn't it? Because if you want to find all the secrets, you have to do a bit of a mixture of completing levels properly and flying around looking for secret doors and stuff.
So the next world we've got here is Macro Zone, where Mario is, everything's really tiny. So you've got all ants around the place, which is, again, very strange even for a Mario title.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the inventiveness of the worlds is really good. It's not all just the Mushroom Kingdom. There's some different ideas going on there.
You just saw me get stabbed by an ant, so now I'm tiny little Mario, and I've just died. There you go. It's not as easy as I was saying, really. It's very easy to kind of, because obviously on the Game Boy you haven't got that large of a screen. It's very easy to be caught unaware by enemies and gaps that are off just out of your line of sight.
Yeah, that's the one thing. You haven't got that big. You can't have that big run up. You don't have lots to look at in front of you. But I mean, other than that, it's a great step forward, because I mean the previous game didn't even let you walk backwards, whereas you couldn't sort of, if you say there where you'd missed that enemy, you couldn't walk back and chase after him.
No.
But now this time round, it's become a bit more proper Mario.
Yeah, it's like how when in Mario 3 suddenly you could go left, right, up, down, diagonally. It's it's great to see it represented on the little 8-bit Game Boy.
Yeah, it's a lot of people would criticise the Game Boy because it's limited in terms of graphics, but you could still you can still get some great looking games. It's just the colours, and of course then you got some of these games which were later colorized anyway when the Game Boy Color came out.
Yeah, and let's not forget the Super Game Boy, which is one of my favourite peripherals of all time. Being able to play your Game Boy games on the SNES via the big screen is always welcome, and of course that was replicated for the GameCube's Game Boy Player as well.
Of course, and there's even rumours that there's going to be some sort of cartridge for the Wii U, which will allow you to interact with sort of your 3DS games. Although nothing's really been confirmed of that, there's definitely some rumours floating around.
There's nothing quite like playing a handheld game on a big screen. It can be quite a nice experience.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Especially the fact that a lot of your classic game, if you had a lot of classic games in your Game Boy collection at the time, they'd all be colorized as well, and you get the nice little borders around the outside. It was something different completely.
Right, so the reason I've gone back to this Hippo level is because I actually went in the wrong entrance earlier. Going back to those secret exits that Rodman referred to earlier, this level has 2 exits. One will just complete the level, and the other, will take you to somewhere which you'll see in a second. And as you can see, I'm abusing the float around and avoid everything route.
Which does seem a bit lazy, but sometimes it's got to be done.
It is. For the purposes of this video, it suits us fine. I mean, if you did have the rabbit ears, if you basically keep tapping the A button as quick as you can basically float as if you were flying. There we go.
So here you've got one of the different mini games. Yeah,
there are quite a couple around. This one's quite weird. You have to stop we have to basically stop light the dynamite and hope that the rats haven't chewed the wires.
Of course.
Perfectly normal.
And this is what I was thinking of earlier. I was thinking there was another power up. It isn't a power up. You just have this moon suit.
Yes. The space world. So obviously, as it's space, you can jump higher and everything's a lot more slower.
A bit floaty. But yeah, I mean, this was people all talk about Super Mario Galaxy, but this was the first time Mario went into space.
Good point. It's worth mentioning that the music in this is actually really good for a Game Boy. Nothing's too obnoxious. Very nice tunes. There's definitely a leitmotif going on with some of the music. Some familiar melodies going on in most of the levels. And you got some Mario sounding sound effects that again aren't too annoying, but sound right.
Yeah, it's definitely, they've made a big effort to sort of keep it in line with the rest of the series, but still try and do some original tunes as well. These weird pigs firing balls are a bit I don't remember them.
Definitely the weirdest enemies in a Mario game since Mario 2, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, the less we say about Mario 2, the better. Well, nothing. Not to say Mario 2 is not a good game, but it's not. It was never really meant to be a Mario game, was it?
But we'll save that for maybe the future, possibly.
Of course.
So we're still in this space world at the moment, just about to leave.
And as you can see already, I mean, you barely scratched upon any of these worlds. It's a big game, definitely a large game, and thank you lucky stars you got the save option on this one, because you could spend you could get very frustrated in having to replay all of this.
Definitely. Just coming to my favourite world in Super Mario Land 2. This is the Mario Zone. The whole place is shaped like Mario. What can you say?
Yeah, he's a slightly egotistical character.
It is a bit, but when you go inside the levels, it's a lot of kind of clockwork things going on. So I'm not sure why that's a kind of reason why it's Mario Zone. But hey, I'm not complaining.
We never knew Mario was a wind-up before, clockwork toy before, but maybe that's what this game was trying to say.
Exactly. No wonder Wario hates Mario. He's such a dick.
Yeah. Yeah, he builds this massive clockwork version of himself. He must be really egotistical. What a narcissistic guy. And Wario just wanted his own game.
Exactly. I believe there's in American Nintendo Power, there's actually a comic that explained why Mario and Wario hated each other, and it was basically like Mario was just a total tosser to Wario, which made him angry and bitter. So he decided to take lots of money and try and
his girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's what you do, really.
Well, actually, I think Wario doesn't actually do the whole capturing Toadstool thing. I think Wario just does the capitalist route of I want lots of money.
I'm going to steal your castle.
Exactly, that is exactly what he does. He just steals money, and likes those money bags, which is play any Wario game and you'll be collecting money all over the place.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, in this game, it's set immediately after the first one, where Mario had actually gone off to save. I think it was Daisy in Mario Land rather than Peach. And he'd been off to save her, and Wario has just moved in, mate. So he's just a squatter, really. He's not all bad. He's just squatting in Mario's castle.
He's just claiming squatters' rights.
Yeah, so maybe Mario's actually he's the bad guy in this game. That's probably why you take over playing as Wario in the third one.
There you go.
He's a more likable character.
Well, Mario always has been a bit of a sod. I mean, he did imprison Donkey Kong.
Of course.
So, there's a bit of a mean streak in him.
Yeah, they never really make much of that, do they, Nintendo?
No.
It's all a cover-up, I think.
It goes to show what a good propaganda and PR can help, eh?
Of course, yeah.
So this is, by the way, this is the Turtle Zone, so that's the obligatory water world, which has lots of swimming, which is never my favourite part of any Mario game, is the swimming areas, but...
I don't think anyone's a big fan of these swimming levels.
I mean, I can enjoy in Mario 3. I think I enjoy the anywhere that I can use the frog suit, but unfortunately, that's just limited to Mario 3, and the frog suit has never returned since.
No, and then you get the even worse level, which is the underwater level where the screen moves along all the time as well, and you can't. The automatically moving screens are always one of the banes of the Mario games, where you couldn't stay still.
Well, I think that's all we've got time for this week. Thank you very much for watching. And, of course, you can watch all of our content on GodisaGeek.com. So that's not just the GodisaGeek Retrocast. That's other wonderful podcasts and videos and news and reviews and anything you want to know about games. So, as I said, that's it for this week. And we will see you next week for some more retro gaming goodness. Goodbye.
Goodbye.